Hi, I'm Sarah Hart, Director of Drive Heart. Today's podcast is all about roundabouts. We're going to talk about the principles and purposes of roundabouts, and then we're going to go on to 5 key points. We're going to talk about approach, decision making, lane selection and lane discipline, signals and timing of signals, and about strong observations at the roundabout. So let's start with the purpose and principles of roundabouts. Very often we'd ask our students, what do you know about roundabouts and what are they there for? And very often they will know quite a lot about the roundabouts. They will know that they are generally round, but not always. They will know that we have to give way to traffic coming from the right. They'll know that we have to travel in a clockwise direction around the roundabouts. So they actually do have quite a lot of information in there already. The things they might not know about are signals and lane discipline and other things to watch out for on the roundabouts. So let's have a look first of all at the approach to roundabouts. As instructors, we have a little process which is called MSPSL, and that stands for mirror, signal, position, speed, look. So particularly with a learner driver, we need to get them approaching the roundabout slowly. What will very often happen is they'll come into the roundabout way too fast, and then they'll be struggling with their gear and their steering and their lane selection. And because everything's really, really fast at that point, they haven't got time to make a really good, safe decision. So that will invariably end up with them putting on the brakes really hard. They'll have to stop, where actually if they'd slowed down really early, they'd have had time to look for their lanes, they'd have had time to get their signal on, they'd have had time to arrive and start looking on approach to the roundabout. We need to get them looking for signs and markings well in advance. Usually first or second gear on approach, usually second. First gear would be safe for if you definitely have to stop. But if you can get the student down into second gear, well back from the roundabout, with their clutch up, so they've actually engaged the engine, then they can start to plan and anticipate what they're going to do on the roundabout. So that's really important, getting the approach right, getting it slow and early. Let's have a look at decision making. We have a little saying called LADA, or LADA, L-A-D-A, and that stands for look, assess, decide and act. So it's all about actually deciding whether it's safe to emerge onto the roundabout. So on approach, you want to be looking to the right, but then look ahead. Look to the right, look ahead. So don't be afraid to move your eyes. Start that assessment really early. If you've got your speed down, you'll be able to do that. And as you're coming in, you're going to be assessing what's happening to the right. Now, if we've got our second gear engaged, we can come in nice and slowly and we can look to the right and look for a safe gap. And if that gap is there, then we can keep the car moving in second gear. Obviously, if there's no gap, we're going to have to stop. The other thing to remember is not to assume that the driver in front of you is going to go. You might have looked to the right and thought, well, the driver in front's definitely going to go because they've got a gap, but they might not go. They might stall or they might not be confident to take the gap. So don't just assume they're going to go. Keep an eye on them. And the other thing is, just because the driver in front of you does go, don't just assume that it's safe for you to go or for your learner to go. You've got to make your own decisions. Let's have a look at lane discipline, and this is always quite a big one. We need to decide which lane we need on approach, and we might decide that by looking at road signs or road markings. We have to have a really good look. Keep your eyes peeled on approach. But a general rule of thumb that we can think about is if we are turning left first exit, we would generally and usually arrive in the left lane with a left signal. If we're going ahead second exit, we would normally arrive in the left and go around the outside and go off to our designated lane. However, sometimes for ahead, we need to use the right lane, and this will usually be marked by road signs or markings. So watching those signs on approach is critical. And usually, if we're turning right, we would approach in the right lane with the right signal, and then we'd come around the inside of the roundabout and peel away to take our exit. But the critical thing is to look at road signs and markings. And if you have got in the wrong lane and it's not safe to change lanes, go where that lane takes you, and you can always find somewhere safe to turn around. And let's have a look at signals. Signals, people sometimes are really bad at signals, and it can be very confusing, particularly to newer and learner drivers. If we're taking the first exit left, we would normally on approach be signalling left. However, if there's a little side road on the left before the roundabout, it wouldn't be appropriate to put our signal on until we've passed that side road, because what we're doing by signalling on approach to the side road is telling people that we intend to turn left into the side road, which of course we don't want to. If we're following the road ahead, normally, again, no signal on approach, because if it's the second exit, we don't want to signal on approach because that would indicate that we're taking the first exit. But we would signal left after the first exit to indicate that we want to take the next available exit, i.e. the second exit. And if we're turning right, third exit, on approach we'd be signalling right, and we would keep that right signal on until after we'd passed the second exit. And then with good strong observations on our left side, we'd signal left, and then we'd peel away. And if you can think of the roundabout as a clock face, it'll really help. So always imagine that you're coming into the roundabout at 6 o'clock, and generally any exits before and including 12 o'clock would be a left side approach. And any exits after 12 o'clock would be a right signal, right lane, right signal. So that's one way of thinking about it, and that's how we explain it to learners. So moving on to observations, it's really critical that we look well ahead and see what's going on. We need to be aware of danger areas, such as areas to the right. Perhaps there's a side road coming in from the right on the roundabout, but it might be, your vision might be blocked by a bush or a wall or something like that. So if you can't see clearly to the right on the roundabout for any reason, you're going to have to go more slowly. Be very careful with your observations. And also be ready for other drivers to do something unexpected. You can sometimes see by the body language of people in the car, they're waving their arms around and pointing. Maybe their signals don't match up with the lane that they're in or the direction that they're steering, their wheels are pointed. So in that situation, if you're worried about the person in front of you, hold back, give them space to do something unexpected. Keep yourself out of danger. And particularly if you're coming up alongside a long vehicle and you're going to be going ahead, but the long vehicle's on your right as you're approaching the roundabout, they're invariably going to cut the corner slightly. Or if you're on the inside of a long vehicle going round the roundabout, again, there's such a long vehicle that the centre part of the vehicle, the middle part of it, will cut across. So do not be in the middle part, in the centre of a long vehicle on the inside of the bend. And as I said before, if you make a wrong decision and it's too late and not safe to change lanes, just go where that lane takes you. You can always turn around later. Make sure that as you come across, before peeling away, make sure that your left wing is safe, and that would be by using your rear view and your left door mirror. And it might as well be just looking out of the left window to make sure there's no one alongside you. So our conclusion about roundabouts is that they are designed to keep traffic moving, and so on approach we want to be nice and slow, look for that gap, and if possible we're going to take the gap and keep the car moving. But obviously if it's not safe, we're not going to go. So slow it down early, look, assess, decide and act, and make sure that you know which lane you need and think hard about your signals. So I hope that's been of use. And there will be some notes behind this podcast which will help you. Thank you very much.